Hi everybody, welcome back to the studio. My name is Victoria Armstrong and I'm the owner of Side by Side Consulting Services, and I thought that I would pop on today to chat just a little bit about documentation and a follow-up to my last video. So my last video I chatted a little bit about how do you put together an actual piece of written documentation, what are the things that are important to include when you're writing up an observation. And I thought that I would kind of jump before that and chat a little bit about what do I document. So many wonderful things happen in a day and you see so many things, and I think it can be hard sometimes to know, what do I capture, what's worth documenting, what do I just enjoy in the moment for what it is, versus what do I take out my notes, my notepad and my camera, and what do I actually take notes of, and what do I actually document. And one thing that I feel like I've come to learn over the years and through documenting myself is I feel like the more that you practice, the more that you begin to develop just a sense of a moment that is going to turn into something else, or you kind of just develop this intuitive sense for, there seems like there's something in this experience right now that really is worth documenting, that I really need to take a photo of, and maybe you're not sure where it's going to go, or but you just kind of get a sense that there's something in there. Or maybe a child asks a question at the lunch table, or as you're about to go outside, and there's just something in that question that seems like, there's really a nugget in there that it could go somewhere, and it's worth writing it down to remember. So I think that the more that you practice and the more that you document, the more that you just come to kind of sense those moments that are worth documenting. And it definitely isn't easy because, like I said, so many wonderful things happen in a day. But I like to think about a couple things. So firstly, I like to think about documenting, children's ideas, their questions, their theories, their curiosities as they happen spontaneously during play. And again, this is, I think, where that intuitive sense comes as you're watching children engaged in their play. Maybe they ask a question, or you see them working with the material over and over again, and you can kind of sense that there's a theory that they're testing or something that they're trying to figure out. Those are really great moments to document. Just as and when they come up in children's play, whether that's outdoors or indoors, whether it's a child by themselves or whether it's a child engaged with another child or a small group of children, as and when they come up in play. Now, this is different from just observing and saying this is what children did today, or this is what I noticed that they did, but you really want to go beyond just a recounting of events, which they talk about in the How Does Learning Happen document in terms of what documentation is. It's more than just a recording of events of something that just happened, but it's really looking for those moments where you can tell that a child is really thinking deeply about something, or they're trying to figure something out, or they've got a question that you can tell that they're really trying to pursue and trying to figure out, or something that they're finding just really joyful and really enjoyable, maybe by themselves or with a friend or with a group of others. So as and when things happen spontaneously in play, that's when I like to think about documenting something. The other things that I like to think about documenting are answers or findings to a teacher research question. And so this is a question that you've spent time with your teaching team thinking a little bit about, and crafting like a question that you're interested in studying together. Something such as where do I see examples of children's empathy, or how do children build connections with nature? It could be a whole there's so many different topics that a teacher research question could be on, depending on what you're interested in, depending on your children, depending on what you're curious in knowing more about. So, and the one great thing about teacher research questions too is once you've had a chance to create one, it's really great actually if you're just starting out in your documentation journey, because it gives you a focus for your documentation. So like I mentioned before, when so many things can happen in a day, it can be hard to know, what do I capture and what do I not capture? When you have a teacher research question, something specific that you're interested in, that you're curious about, and that you're looking for, it gives you something specific to look for during the day. So you can say, this is what we're focusing on, and this is what we're curious to learn more about with the children, and so this is what I'm going to focus my documentation on, and that can be really helpful in knowing what it is that you can document during the day. Another idea is to document for older children, so maybe if you work with school-age children, is a child-directed research question. So maybe there's something that a child has verbalized that they're really curious to know more about and that they want to research more. That can be a great thing to document as well too, is to document that question and their journey in terms of what they find out in relation to their research question. The other thing that I like to document too is children's investigations with materials, so a whole range of materials. So thinking about, how do children get to know wire, or how do children get to know clay or blocks or paint, for example, and kind of the journey that they go on to develop relationships with those materials and really get to know those materials. Anne Pello, in her book, The Language of Art, really does a wonderful job of showing, how do you introduce, this is specifically for art, but how do you show and introduce art materials, visual art materials to children, and then she gives beautiful examples of how she's documented children's investigations and children's ongoing relationships with those materials, what their initial response was to the material, and then how that relationship with the material grew. So that can be another wonderful thing to document as well too, is to say, I'm curious about this particular material and children's relationship with this material, and I'm going to focus on documenting their journey with that material and how they get to know it and how that relationship with that material deepens. So hopefully those are a few ideas of what you can document if you've ever struggled with, figuring out what it is you want to document or capture in a day. The other thing to remember too is to always make sure that you document children's strengths. So things that children can do, not things that children are not able to do. And as I had mentioned in a previous video, when you're going to spend time studying your documentation, which is another video, you want the focus of your conversation to be around children's strengths and what they're able to do, and for it to be a positive conversation. So always pick something to document that focuses on children's strengths. So I hope that this was helpful. Stay tuned for more videos. I have a number more in the works as well too. Sorry that this one took a little bit longer to get out, but thanks for your patience. Thanks so much for subscribing. If you like this video, share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And for any more information or to reach me, visit me at www.sbsconsulting.ca. Thanks guys. Talk to you soon.